Deep within every woman lies a secret to true self-confidence. This isn't just a pretty metaphor or a tired cliché from self-help books. The great explorer of the human soul, Carl Jung, discovered that in our subconscious lies a part of us yearning to be heard. This inner child isn't just an echo of childhood, it's the voice of our very essence, knowing who we truly are, without the masks we've had to wear. When this inner child smiles, magic happens. A woman's self-confidence soars to unprecedented heights. Ahead lies a dive into the inner universe using Jungian tools to learn how to heal, grow, and shine from within. This isn't just information, it's a personal revolution that starts right now. Jung argued that the unconscious is not a dark and chaotic place full of fears, but a living treasure trove holding everything necessary for a fulfilling life. Imagine your inner child as a spark of the purest dreams, existing before the world began dictating who you should be. The problem is that most of us have silenced this child, suppressed by expectations to be the perfect woman, selfless mother, flawless partner, or successful professional. She has quieted down, waiting to be noticed. When her voice isn't heard, a sense of emptiness arises, relationships become exhausting, work brings no satisfaction, and there's a feeling that something is missing, even if everything seems fine on the surface. So, what can be done to restore this connection with oneself and find true confidence? The answers await. Surely everyone has encountered a situation where a new acquaintance, whether a friend, lover, or colleague, initially seems perfect. Communication brings joy, plans inspire, and promises instill hope. However, over time, a feeling of discomfort arises. Perhaps this manifests as comments that undermine self-confidence or a feeling of exhaustion after each meeting. Carl Jung would argue that this feeling is no accident. It is the subconscious trying to convey important information, the inner voice signaling that something is amiss. But instead of listening to oneself, one often convinces oneself that everything is fine and suppresses one's true feelings. It is at this moment that self-betrayal begins. According to Jung, the unconscious is like an underground river flowing beneath the surface of everyday life. It communicates not with direct words, but through symbols, emotions, and intuition. This can be an inexplicable feeling of discomfort, a strange dream, or a premonition warning of danger, or, conversely, urging closer contact. All of these are manifestations of the inner voice, striving to guide one on the right path. Ignoring these signals leads to alienation from one's own power. Think back to how many times you had to say yes when you wanted to say no, just to avoid conflict or stay in relationships, whether friendships, romantic relationships, or even family relationships, that made you feel inadequate out of a sense of duty. Each such act sends a signal of insignificance to the subconscious, and the inner voice becomes quieter. However, there is no need to despair, because in the depths of the unconscious lies not only the source of problems, but also the key to personal transformation. The inner child, like a wise guide, not only points out existing shortcomings, but also illuminates the path to true radiance. Remember those moments when you felt omnipotent and unstoppable. Perhaps these were moments of spontaneous dancing alone, sincere support for a friend going through difficult times, or boldly expressing your own opinion despite inner trepidation. In these moments, the inner child illuminates you with her smile, reminding you that self-confidence grows not from external attributes such as approval, compliments, or recognition, but from a harmonious reunion with your own essence. Let's pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and consider when you last felt this spark of authenticity. That unique moment when you felt truly alive, free from masks and pretense. If this image seems blurry, don't worry, because today we will uncover the secrets of returning to this state. If this feeling is vivid in your memory, cherish it, for it will become the fuel we will use for our further journey. Carl Jung defined individuation as a complex path of becoming oneself, a process of accepting all aspects of personality, including those that are usually hidden due to fear or shame. This process, although not easy, leads to liberation. Jung in his writings paid special attention to the concept of the shadow, a term that may seem abstract but has a very practical meaning. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is the repository of qualities that a person rejects: insecurities, anger, selfish desires, things they are ashamed to admit. For example, feeling intensely annoyed when someone interrupts or ignores you might reflect a suppressed desire to be heard. Perhaps deep down the person has remained silent too often, and their shadow now desperately seeks attention. Similarly, envy of other women's successes displayed on social media should not trigger self-condemnation. Jung would advise embracing this feeling, as envy can be a manifestation of an inner striving for self-realization and achievement. The shadow, therefore, is not an enemy, but a valuable teacher, helping to understand hidden desires and needs. So, how can we help this inner child feel happy? First and foremost, we must meet her face to face. Imagine yourself standing before a younger version of yourself, that girl who once ran fearlessly, dreamed big, and laughed without caring what others thought. What would you say to her today? What words of support and encouragement does she need? Perhaps she needs to hear a promise that no one will extinguish her light, or that you will start setting boundaries with those who drain you. This is not just an imaginative exercise, but a powerful practice that Jung used in his work with patients to restore connection with the unconscious. Everyone can use this method to better understand themselves and their true desires. The author provides a common example from life, familiar to many women: a sense of imbalance in relationships, whether with a partner, mother, or friend. The woman feels she is giving her all, but her efforts are never enough. As an example, the author cites a situation where a friend constantly seeks support but never finds time to reciprocate. The result is a feeling of emptiness and loss of energy. Referring to Jung's ideas, the author suggests that such a state of affairs indicates that the relationship does not align with the woman's true essence, as signaled by her inner child. This is not about immediate severing of relationships, although in some cases that may be necessary, but about honestly answering the question, does this relationship fill me with life, or does it drain me? If the answer is drains, concrete steps must be taken. As a practical tool, it is suggested to start guarding your energy like a precious treasure. Before responding to someone's request, whether for a favor, time, or attention, pause and ask yourself, will this fill me or drain me? If the answer is drain, say no without guilt. No explanations or justifications are needed, just a simple, I can't right now. The author emphasizes that this is an act of self-love that makes the inner child smile, feeling that her needs are important. Confidence grows when a woman realizes her power in setting boundaries. Before moving on to the next chapter, the author addresses the audience with a call for self-reflection and sharing of experiences. If readers wish to share, they are invited to leave a comment describing situations or people who are currently draining their energy. It is emphasized that there is no need to reveal names, just express feelings and experiences. The author also suggests sharing this video with friends who may need support and inspiration, emphasizing that joint healing and personal growth are much more effective. Viewers are invited to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so as not to miss future, even deeper explorations of the topic. The author promises that further content will be devoted to strategies for confronting internal shadows and freeing oneself from everything that hinders progress. The author asks if viewers are ready for this journey and encourages them to take a deep breath, emphasizing that this is just the beginning. It is stated that if the viewer has reached this point, something important is awakening within them. Previously, it was discussed how the inner child, that part of the unconscious that Carl Jung passionately studied, guides us through subtle signals, intuition, emotions, and even discomfort. Now, the author suggests going further and exploring what happens when these signals escalate into a scream, when one feels that there is something in their life, a relationship, a habit, or a fear that is holding them back. Jung offered a clear answer. It is the shadow asking for attention. When a person dares to face it, they will not only heal but also unleash such powerful self-confidence that no one can shake. The shadow, as already mentioned, is everything that a person hides from themselves, not because of their badness, but because the world has taught them to reject certain aspects of their personality. As an illustration, the author gives examples from childhood when we were taught to be kind, not to throw tantrums, and not to be selfish. While learning to live in society is important, sometimes these lessons turn into suppression of one's own needs. The author asks if viewers have ever felt anger followed by guilt, or a desire to ask for something, a raise, more respect, or a vacation, but feared appearing demanding. This is a manifestation of the shadow, the part of the personality that possesses strength, strives for self-expression, and disagrees with the current state of affairs, but which the person has learned to suppress. Jung argued that the shadow does not disappear if ignored. On the contrary, it grows. Recall instances when a person explodes over a trivial matter, such as a dirty dish left by a partner, and ends up shouting out everything that has accumulated. The problem is not the dish, but all those situations when the person remained silent and swallowed the offense. The shadow accumulates, and if not confronted, it manifests in chaos, conflicts, exhaustion, and even a sense of losing oneself. However, there is good news. When a person integrates their shadow, it becomes their ally. Imagine a situation familiar to many, a long-term relationship in which a partner, while showering you with attention, simultaneously makes you doubt your own worth. Critical remarks like, "You could try harder," or "Don't be so sensitive," are initially ignored out of love and a desire not to escalate conflict. However, over time, these words erode self-esteem. Looking in the mirror raises the question, what if he's right and I really am imperfect? Jung would explain this phenomenon as projection. Such behavior from a partner touches hidden corners of the personality, those very insecurities that lay dormant inside and are now surfacing. But therein lies the opportunity for personal growth. The inner voice protests, declaring dissatisfaction with the current state of affairs. So, what to do in such a situation? First of all, it is necessary to calm down and take a deep breath. It is important not to look for someone to blame, but to turn to self-analysis. Ask yourself the question, what part of myself am I sacrificing in this relationship? Perhaps it is your own voice, joy, or personal interests. Then take a bold step. Begin a dialogue with your inner self. This may seem unusual, but Jung actively used this method in his work with patients. Close your eyes, imagine your inner image and ask, what do you need right now? The answer may vary. Protection, or for you to choose me at least once. After recognizing the needs of the inner self, it is necessary to act. This may involve setting clear boundaries, such as declaring the unacceptability of a certain tone in conversation. In extreme cases, a complete break in the relationship may be required. The word "let go" often evokes fear because from childhood we are taught that abandoning what has been started is a sign of weakness, especially for women. However, Jung suggests looking at the situation from a different angle. Letting go is not surrender, but a return to one's own true essence. Imagine a person carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones. Each stone symbolizes toxic relationships, others, shoulds, and paralyzing fears. Now imagine that this backpack is left on the ground. What a relief it brings. The same thing happens when you free yourself from what does not align with your values. Energy returns, the inner voice gains strength, and self-confidence begins to grow. Let's pause for a moment and think about the burden that each of us carries today, be it the burden of relationships, guilt, or the weight of expectations. What will happen if we allow ourselves to be free from this? There is no need to make a decision immediately, but it is worth feeling this liberation for at least a second. And if the desire arises, you can share your thoughts in the comments, starting with the words, "I am ready to let go of Bai." Reading the revelations of others not only inspires, but also supports those women who are experiencing similar difficulties. And if this message resonates, it is worth sharing it with a close friend or sister who needs a push for change. Together, we gain strength. Returning to the ideas of Carl Jung, one cannot fail to mention projection, another important concept. Projection is a mechanism by which a person sees in others the qualities that they do not accept in themselves. For example, the irritation caused by the authoritarian leadership style of a female boss may be a reflection of one's own suppressed desire to control the situation, which is hindered by fear. Or, admiration for the self-confidence exuded by a friend may indicate a lack of recognition of one's own inner strength. Jung argued that everything that evokes love or hate in the external world is a mirror reflection of the internal state. And therein lies a harsh but important truth. People who evoke negative emotions are not the problem in themselves, but act as teachers, pointing to those aspects that need healing and acceptance. This leads to another important aspect of self-knowledge. If you aspire to nurture your inner child and elevate your self-confidence, consider viewing your relationships with others as reflections of your own self. The next time someone's behavior irritates you or leaves you feeling drained, instead of dwelling on complaints, ask yourself, what is this situation trying to show me? Perhaps a friend's chronic lateness, which makes you question the value of your own time, or a colleague whose criticism seems unwarranted, is prompting you to strengthen your belief in your own ideas. It's recommended to record these insights in a personal journal. Yes, actually pick up a notebook and pen. Psychologist Carl Jung called this the method of active imagination, a way of conducting a dialogue with your own subconscious. Over time, this approach will allow you to gain a deeper understanding of yourself. And it's not just about negative moments. People also project positive qualities. Admiration for someone's courage may be a reflection of your own, yet unrealized bravery. If you're in awe of a woman striving to achieve her ambitions, it may be an inner voice saying, I want that too. As a practical exercise, make a list of 3 women you admire and list what specifically inspires you about them. Then, analyze how these qualities are already manifesting in your own life, even in a small way. For example, if you admire your cousin's straightforwardness, recall a time when you also managed to stand up for an important viewpoint. This is the integration of the positive shadow, a process that will undoubtedly give you strength and self-assurance. Before continuing our journey, let's pause for a moment and reflect. Take a deep breath and think about the people in your life who, consciously or unconsciously, reflect your own qualities, both positive and negative. If you feel brave enough, share your thoughts in the comments, writing, I realized that so-and-so is teaching me such and such. And if this video has brought you clarity, share it with others right now. We invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications because the culmination is coming, revealing the secrets of how to make your inner girl not just smile, but dance with happiness. We'll be talking about dreams, about goals, and how the universe responds when you choose your true path. So, are you ready to embark on something greater? You've reached the heart of this journey, and if you're still here, it means your inner girl is already beginning to awaken. We've previously discussed how to listen to her signals, how to confront your shadow, and how to let go of what weighs you down. But now you have to take another important step. To make this girl not only smile, but also dance, jump, and feel free. As Carl Jung stated, the meaning of life is not simply survival or striving to conform to generally accepted norms, but in finding your wholeness, your purpose, your authenticity. And when a person achieves this, their inner confidence soars and turns into an unstoppable force, capable of transforming everything around them. Jung emphasized that the unconscious not only points out what is going wrong, but also guides you to what makes you shine. Remember the moments when life seemed particularly bright and fulfilling. Perhaps it was in the process of creating a work of art full of beauty, or when you were helping your niece with her homework, seeing genuine gratitude in her eyes. Or maybe it was the moment when you decided to quit a job that no longer brought satisfaction, but only oppressed you. These moments are not accidental. They are a manifestation of your inner self, saying, "Here I am. This is where I truly flourish." However, in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, amidst concerns about children, bills, and social expectations, these precious moments can get lost. This is where the concept of synchronicity proposed by Jung comes to the rescue. Synchronicity is when it seems that the universe itself favors you. Have you ever thought of someone and at the same moment received a message from that person? Or maybe you voiced a desire for change and suddenly new opportunities opened up before you. This is not just luck, it is your inner essence harmonizing with the external world. Jung argued that when a person lives in accordance with their truth, the universe reciprocates. But this requires courage, the courage to choose your dreams, desires, and your own essence, even when the path seems unclear and confusing. For women striving for more, fighting for their place in the world, or searching for themselves, this is a real call to action. Let's take a moment to remember the dreams that lived in you as a child. You may have dreamed of traveling, writing books, starting your own business, or simply finding happiness free from pressure and expectations. But life went on, and between caring for others and fulfilling obligations, those dreams were put on the back burner. Jung would say that these dreams haven't disappeared. They are dormant in your subconscious, waiting for the moment when you claim them. And when that happens, your inner self will rejoice. So, here's a practical task. Take a piece of paper and write down a dream you've given up on. It doesn't have to be something grandiose. It could be a desire to learn to dance or to set aside half a day just for yourself. Then, take a small step towards that dream. If it's dancing, look for instructional videos on YouTube. If it's time for yourself, set aside an hour this week. Do this, and you will feel your energy change. However, dreams don't always come easily. Sometimes the biggest obstacle is the people around you. Imagine a situation. You decide to start a new project, such as selling your handmade crafts. You share this idea with enthusiasm, but someone says, "What if you don't succeed? It's better to stay where you are." This comment can dampen your enthusiasm, and your inner self shrinks with fear. Jung would say that these people are not the problem. They are merely reflecting your own fears. The good news is that you choose who to listen to. Surround yourself with women who support you, who say, "Of course you can do it." When you do this, your self-confidence will increase and your inner self will start dancing with joy. Let's pause, take a deep breath, and think about who in your life inspires you to be the best version of yourself and who, on the contrary, hinders your growth. Share this in the comments. My sister motivates me, but my aunt always doubts me. And if this message resonates with your soul, share it with the woman who needs support. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because each new video is another step on the path to your transformation. Now, let's talk about self-love, because it's important for each of us. Jung didn't use those exact words, but all his work indicates that you need to love yourself enough to accept yourself as you are, with all your strengths and weaknesses. For many of us, self-love seems like selfishness. We were raised to put others first, children, partners, family. But the truth is that if you don't choose yourself, you won't be able to give your best to others. Imagine that your energy is a pitcher of water. If you pour it on everyone but yourself, what will you have left? Nothing. But if you fill the pitcher first, taking time to rest, engaging in activities that bring you joy, and setting personal boundaries, then you can share from abundance. Here's another tool. Create a self-love ritual this week. It doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. It could simply be a cup of coffee enjoyed in silence with your favorite music, or words of support spoken to yourself in the mirror. "I'm proud of you." Do this for your inner self. Tell it, "I see you, I love you, and I will take care of you." This is not just a pleasant gesture. It's a Jungian practice of reconnecting with your true self. And when you do, you will notice incredible changes. The right people will start coming into your life, friends who respect you, partners who value you, and opportunities that inspire you. This is synchronicity. However, we should not idealize life, because along with joyful moments, difficult times will inevitably come, as Carl Jung well knew. The great psychologist argued that spiritual awakening is impossible without encountering pain. Perhaps at the moment a person is going through a difficult period, a crisis in their personal life, being fired from a job they hate, or a protracted conflict with loved ones. Such trials seem unbearable, but at the same time, they have a sacred meaning. It is precisely in such moments that the unconscious seeks to bring a person out of a state of hibernation to force them to wake up and look at the world with different eyes. Instead of running from chaos and problems, it is worth accepting them as an inevitable part of life and trying to understand what they can teach. The difficulties that arise signal that a person deserves more, that they deserve a better life. A hated job can become an incentive to find one's true calling, and pain can be a kind of portal through which the inner essence of a person becomes stronger and more confident. By listening to the voice of the subconscious, accepting one's shadow side, and getting rid of everything that prevents moving forward, a person opens the way to realizing their most daring dreams and gaining genuine feminine power. When the inner child is happy, a person begins to radiate a light that transforms not only themselves but also inspires those around them, friends, daughters, all women striving for self-fulfillment. Therefore, it is important to choose your truth, not postponing it for later, not waiting for ideal conditions, but right now. The world needs the light of every individual, and everyone deserves to feel complete and happy. It is time for self-analysis and re-evaluation of life priorities. Think about what changes need to be made in your life to move forward. What outdated habits and beliefs should be abandoned? What boundaries need to be set to protect your interests and well-being? Perhaps it is time to revisit your dreams and aspirations that have been put on the back burner. The choice is yours. I will set a limit, or I will revive my dream. These words will become not just a declaration of intent, but a powerful incentive for action. Your decision will inspire others and remind them of the importance of self-development and the pursuit of happiness. Express gratitude for the support and participation in the common cause. Life provides many opportunities, and every person has the power to choose their path. Do it for the inner child, for yourself.